This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth.
Hello and welcome to the Knowledge and Ignorance podcast. With me, your trusted host, Rebus, the silky, seductive voice of knowledge and ignorance, because we're all knowledgeable and ignorant in equal amounts. And sometimes you can choose to be knowledgeable, and sometimes you can choose to be ignorant. And often I choose to be ignorant. Like when I'm being asked, where's that money you said you'd pay me? And I'd be like, I don't remember you mentioning it. That kind of vibe. Climate change. It's all about climate change, isn't it? Everything. Well, of course, the climate is always around us and always with us. Now, I could have talked about this, a month ago when it was really kicking off. But I like to revisit these things when it's died down a little bit to see if anyone remembers or cares. A bit like the Ice Bucket Challenge. I'm doing that podcast next month. About 5 years too late, people might say. But then again, I say, if you cared at the time, why do you not care now? That's why I'm doing it, okay? Some people really do get on my wick. I'd say we're living in a very non-religious time. A non-religious time where religion has been replaced with different kinds of ideology. And one ideology that has definitely been spreading over the last few years, as you may well know, is this sort of progressive leftist ideology. Is it cultural Marxism or new socialism or communism or I don't know, what else can you call it? Lunatic leftism, whatever it is. It's big out there. It's infiltrated many aspects of our lives. Everything's being politicized, and this thing just seems to be trying to just engulf every last living being on planet Earth. Definitely in the Western world, that's for sure. And like many major religions, there are many offshoots, many different denominations, many different sects. With Christianity you got Protestants, Catholics, Baptists, and Methodists and Quakers. And Islam has Shiites and Sunnis, and then there's Wahhabism. I can't think of any more right now. Judaism, you've got the Orthodox Jews, and then Ashkenazi Jews, and just Jews. Just Jews. And what I'd say is with this leftist Marxist thingy-majiggy, you got your feminist movement, and then you got LGBTQ version of it, then you got the woke police, Twitter blue check marks. All of these ones you could say are, like the other denominations of religion. But what climate change activism seems to be is more like, how can I put it, the Westboro Baptist Church. Yeah, it's that. Or Heaven's Gate, something like that, as in a lunatic death cult, if you were. But somehow it's this death cult, this doom and gloom, fear-peddling merchants of nonsense have been legitimized by all aspects of mainstream society. And they've been allowed to just, glue themselves to part of London willy-nilly without any without much consequence. Oh, they got arrested. Who hasn't been arrested, bro? That is bizarre. I can't remember the name of the Heaven's Gate guy, but if you just Google Heaven's Gate, you'll see this wild-faced, grey-haired old loon bag. Imagine if he was invited to the UN to just berate them and tell them that you've destroyed their future and the spaceship was coming to take you all back to the clean planet. I mean, I just don't think that sort of thing would go down. But apparently, that's perfectly acceptable. That's fine. Apparently, a child is allowed to go around the world with with like endless amounts of spending pocket money. I don't know where it all comes from. I mean, someone whose future is fucked, she should really be investing a bit wiser, instead of spending it on a very long boat trip when you can get a cheap flight. But I digress a little bit, don't I? So yeah, it's a legitimate death cult that is allowed to go on TV, go on radio, to be endorsed by celebrities. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Leonardo DiCaprio, schmoozing and parading around with these loon bags, and apparently that's all fine. That's all fine, But people apparently have a problem with Tom Cruise and Scientology. Well, I don't remember Scientologists, turning up at the UN to tell everyone to start believing in alien spirits and, be a better human and become a Scientologist. I don't remember that ever happening. Tom Cruise is mocked, and rightly so in many regards, although Tom Cruise is a very successful person. So maybe Scientology is a better weirdo cult to join than the climate change cult. Just off the top of my head, it looks like a pretty good deal. When was the last time you looked at Tom Cruise and went, God, his life fucking sucks? I think this is a guy who's almost 60 and still does his own stunts and still commands a massive paycheck, does what he wants in terms of his career. I mean, you think Greta Thunberg's going to be like that when she's 60? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No. Hell no. Fuck that shit. So come on. Who's the biggest lunatic in this equation? Greta Thunberg or Tom Cruise? Come on. Who would you rather be? Tom Cruise or Greta Thunberg? I mean, really. Come on. Come on. And you don't have to have grown up in the 80s and watched Top Gun to appreciate where I'm headed, you know what I'm saying? Now, if you're like me, you probably would have spent many, many years of just going, yeah, climate change is a thing. It's a thing we should be concerned about. And realise that, when you've heard about people who are sort of sceptical about climate change, they're usually labelled as a climate change denier, which kind of is thought about in the same brackets as Holocaust deniers. That's kind of how you'll be berated for having a bit of a supposed iffy opinion on climate change. It's that bad. You can be an actual social pariah, an outcast, belittled, perhaps even lynched in your home and set on fire in the town square for having such beliefs. And I, like many people, was like, well, they can't all be talking about this and it not be a thing, you know what I'm saying? I mean, surely that's not the biggest lie on planet Earth, is it? Here's part of the problem, though. You see, I remember the 80s. I remember when they talked about CFC gases, and when they got rid of CFC, fridges that had CFC gases, and they got rid of aerosols, all aerosols had no CFC gas. And there was this hole in the ozone layer, and we were told by the year 2000 London would be underwater and you'd have to get to work on speedboat, but work would be, half of your workplace would be submerged in water, and the hole in the ozone layer was getting bigger and bigger. And then it reached the year 2000 and nothing was underwater, and no one talked about the hole in the ozone layer, and no one's really talked about it since. And I was thinking, when all this madness started going off with Greta Thunberg and Extinction Rebellion, I kept thinking to myself, going, what happened to that fucking big hole in the ozone layer? Like, where is it okay? Did it get bigger? Did they patch it up? I mean, what happened to it? Where is the fucking hole in the ozone layer? What's happened? I don't know. And then, forgive me for feeling a bit skeptical about the whole thing, but that did make me think. And as my eyes grew, were opened more and more over the years, you start to look at many different aspects of the world and politics and culture, social norms and all sorts of things, I start thinking, a lot of stuff is just bullshit. And a lot of stuff is based on just predominant lies and mistruths and, political posturing. It's all navigated by left-wing and right-wing politics. And it, started to dawn on me, well, why is it that it's a right-wing view to sort of dismiss man-made climate change, but it's a left-wing view to fully believe in man-made climate change? Why? And then you start to think, oh, well, maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle, and maybe, just maybe, it's not all, it's, everything's not quite what it seems. And then you have, this obnoxious little princess turning up and just berating anyone above the age of 17 for destroying her future. And you start to think, I don't like that, gobby little twat. And then you get Extinction Rebellion acting like just massive helmets. Let's not beat around the bush. They really do look like just the worst, just the worst kind of people, just a right bunch of twats. And that annoys you, and you think, do you know what? I really hope that everything they're talking about is nonsense. And in fact, the way they're going on, I think this might, maybe this is all bullshit. And lo and behold, I had to sink into a rabbit hole. I did. I had to think, well, what does the other side say? What is all this? And I found myself viewing videos on YouTube amongst many people doing the same thing. Just from looking at the comments and how recent they were. I found videos that were 10 years old that had a massive spate of new comments from people who apparently been awakened to the truths. I'm not saying this is all the truths or not, but basically, it seems that these obnoxious, entitled screamers and death cultists who are telling us that apparently we only have 12 years left on planet Earth to live unless we surrender all our wealth. It's pretty much the gist of it, isn't it? That's pretty much what they're saying. Saying, yeah, no matter what the cost, this must be done now. Right. Okay. And that's rubbed people up the wrong way, and it's actually had an adverse effect. Now, whether or not man-made climate change is 100% real or not, if it is 100% real, then they've done a really bad job. They've done the worst job of persuading people, because what's happened is I've seen more and more people go seek their own truth, find out for themselves, and I have too. Now, as we'll go on, you'll see that I'm, pretty much not 100% convinced, and nor should anybody, it turns out. But the fact is, it made someone like me, who never questioned it at all. It was like, yeah, of course, they can't all just be going on about this, and it'd be a load of bollocks. It's made people like me go somewhere else and listen to other voices and discover that everything wasn't quite as black and white as they painted it out to be. Now, I'm not going to explain everything, but the gist of it is what I've discovered is that, no one denies climate change, which is number one. No one denies it. No one denies that the climate is changing. Everyone pretty much agrees that the climate does change. It's what's causing climate change. And without me explaining what other people have said, you can go find out for yourself. Okay? Just look into it. Because what bothers me at first is, you're sold this continuous narrative, and they've always got this, it's the one line they use all the time. It's sort of like the it's the headline. It's the tagline for the movie. Climate Change the movie. Here's the tagline. 97. It's always like 97 or 98% of scientists agree. Now I've heard that term used exactly. 98% of scientists agree in that man-made climate change is a thing. Okay, but what they actually mean is, and what you usually hear is, 97 or 98% of climate change scientists say man-made climate change is a real thing. And you're like, well, that must be unequivocal. I mean, you can't argue against that evidence. I mean, there's a little smidgen of dissent there, but pretty much it's all unanimous. Like, okay, this is what's going down. Okay, that's the thing. But that's scientists who are working for the IPCC, which is a UN body for climate change. So it's not all climate change scientists. And then, as I discovered, there's a petition signed by, I can't remember the exact number. It's something like 31,000 scientists, or other climate scientists, whatever it is, who have signed a petition that says that what they're telling you about man-made climate change is false, is a load of nonsense. There's an actual petition out there, signed by that many fucking scientists. And then if you just go through the list of scientists who dispute the man-made climate change thing, there's a lot of them. But obviously they get smeared as being in the pockets of, big oil companies, BP or whatever, petroleum producers, Saudi royal family, whoever it is. And it's like, well, you probably would get funded by those people. And then you discovered, because come on, I mean, who else is going to fund you? Leonardo DiCaprio's not giving you no money, is he? For Christ's sake. And then you hear the stories about how actually carbon dioxide is good for the planet. And there's evidence to support that there has been a massive greening of the planet as carbon emissions have increased. Okay. And that the correlation between the Earth heating up and the rising carbon emissions don't quite correlate the way they say they do. As in, the Earth started heating up before carbon emissions or something like that. Like I said, don't use this as a way to find out the frickin' truths. This ain't truth time. This is me thinking out loud. So you can, have a little think for yourself. Because you need to go out and explore it yourself, basically. But I did look at photos from NASA showing the greening of planet Earth. And it does make sense. Of course it makes sense. Plants and trees, their food is carbon dioxide. So yeah, and they produce oxygen for us. So therefore, I mean, that's the most basic science that most people should be able to understand who aren't scientists, isn't it? Carbon dioxide gets absorbed in, and therefore more carbon dioxide, more trees, more greenery, and then more oxygen. So therefore, we should have more trees. We should plant more trees. Isn't that like a really simple solution? Now, the heating of the planet, this isn't even unanimously agreed upon. And then you start thinking, well, why? Why the fuck is everyone 100% being convinced that this is what's going on, that it's man-made climate change, and petroleum is bad, and blah, 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 when there's people out there saying, no, carbon dioxide is good for the planet. And actually, the planet getting warmer is better. Because if the planet was getting colder, it would be worse. You think about it. I mean, and that does sort of make sense to me. No, you don't really hear about that many homeless people in the UK dying during summer. But you hear a lot about them dying in winter when it gets really cold. And that just makes perfect sense to me. It's like, oh yeah, people do die in the fucking cold. Old people die in the cold. They do. Pneumonia. Lots of old people die in the cold. Lots of homeless people die in the cold. But you don't hear as much about people in hot weather. dying. When it gets hot, don't hear about old Jim downstairs dropped dead because it was lovely and hot. Think about the homeless this summer and what? Give them a fucking, I don't know, a paddling pool full of ice? Like what? You ever hear about people? I know someone who's right now is got some campaign going where he wants people to donate blankets for the homeless for this Christmas. He's doing a thing like that. He's not out there in summer going, come on guys, we need paddling pools full of ice for the homeless to dip their feet in because it's very hot. We need sunblock for the homeless. It just doesn't happen, does it? Do you know what I'm saying? You don't hear about it. That's something you really don't hear about. Or the need to have more air conditioning put into old people's homes. You don't hear about that, do you? So, I don't know. With that and my basic knowledge of science, I'd say, well, the planet getting warmer sounds like a great fucking idea. That's one thing you've got to consider. And we've been, like I said, being told that the planet is going to die. We're going to be a massive ball of fire in 12 years' time. It really is... what's the word? It really is... hyping it right up. That's it. Really overhyping the situation. And it is fear-mongering. And we live in the age of fear. We've been living in the age of fear since 9/11. Pretty much. So these are the fear tactics, the fear factor tactics that they use. Of course they're going to use these fear tactics. It's all they fucking know. This is all these kind of people know how to do. It's all politicians know how to do. No one knows about prosperity or anything like that. There's none of it. And if they do offer prosperity, it's a lunatic version. And you can tell, and you know what the hidden agenda is behind these climate change lunatics. Because Greta Thunberg herself came out and said, this is about colonialism, the patriarchy, and all this stuff. It's like, I thought we were talking about planet Earth here now. Now, what are we talking about now? It's like, what's the answer? Socialism. It's like, oh my God. It's like the answer to racism is socialism. The answer to women's reproductive rights, socialism. The answer to transphobia, socialism. The answer to homophobia, socialism. The answer to your failures, socialism. The answer to end war, socialism. The answer to save planet Earth from extinction is socialism. Now, I'm sorry, but that's going a little bit too far. That's kind of what lunatic versions of religion do. And they say, well, you're going to fucking hell unless you come to church on Sunday. It's like, oh, really? Yes, that's right. Shame. I was watching a little interview with Germaine Greer, someone who used to be described as a feminist, but now apparently she's an alt-right neo-Nazi or something these days. I don't know what happened to Germaine Greer, but there you go. People do take a turn for the worse when they get too old. And she was saying, how she went to a very strict convent school and how she spoke out and how that she didn't like religion because of certain sexual things that you do would be considered shameful, and you'd feel shame about doing certain things out of wedlock and so forth. But like the idea of shame was put into you, as in that was drilled into your head. You were brainwashed into feeling shameful. And you look at these motherfuckers walking around going, you should be ashamed. Trying to make you feel ashamed. Make you feel ashamed of what? What, taking a flight? Oh, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. Because I'm going to be on fire when you're dead. You'll die of natural causes, but I'll die in a ball of fire. It's like, all right. Well, I don't think I should be ashamed. What's it doing? Shaming people. Guilt-tripping people. Into what? What's the ultimate plan at the end of it? As soon as people start mentioning globalism, you think, oh God, the conspiracy loons are coming out again. The globalists. It's the fucking globalists are out again. But actually, if you look into it further, and Al Gore and the likes of them, and what the UN is, and what they want, the IPCC, and saying, increasing global taxes. Taxation is the way we're going to save, and by taking away the means to make shitloads of money, basically. Because think about it. Well, what are the nations that are really prospering from, emitting lots of emissions? China, India, and Africa. Well, Africa were on the up, but certain African countries have had to sign these clauses where they have to lower their carbon emissions and switch to green energy, which ain't developing the economy for shit. So what are you doing? You're keeping Africa in the fucking dark ages, and you're telling China and India, two nations consistently on the up and up and up and up. Brazil's another one too, and you're telling them, going, no, you need to stop prospering, okay? Because planet Earth's about to fucking die, and you're part of the problem. So you need to surrender all your growth and wealth, okay? Because Greta Thunberg's really upset, so we need to tax the shit out of you. It's like, really? And apparently, climate change. They'll even say climate change is racist. They say climate change is racist. Oh, apparently, because people in the most poor and ethnically diverse areas get affected by it the most. But yet, hello yellow man, hello brown man, can you stop doing that and give us loads of money? I don't know. It's like, alright, but that's not racist. Keeping Africa from developing, prospering through, building factories. Stuff like that. All the stuff that's going to have loads of carbon emissions that will drag them out of poverty. All that stuff. Don't be doing that. Oh, it's for your own good, though, because carbon dioxide is racist, apparently. Airplanes are racist. Exhaust is racist. It's racist. Why is it? I don't know, because we said it is. Somehow we got some convoluted data that we've just created. Go have a look at it. See what it says? Look, they built an airport next to the ghetto. Well, it's racist, isn't it? That's because of racism. They want everyone to die. That's what they want. They want to fly around the world in their private jets and kill people with the exhaust. That's what they want because they're racists. Oh, but we, on the other hand, we don't want you prospering. All this newfound wealth you got through all your dirty factories and stuff. Yeah, well, we want to stop that because we're anti-racism. Yes. Yeah. That's quite a strange position to have in the world, isn't it? We're doing this for your own good. This is for your own good, don't you know? I've never, they say, this bitch, you got this little bitch going around going, I'm against colonialism, but also I want you to stop prospering, and I'm going to tell you what to do. What? You're sailing around the world on a fucking boat like Phileas Fogg, and you want to tell the Chinese and the Indians what to fucking do. What? Are you crazy? I'm against colonialism, but also I'm on my boat, my millionaire's boat, cruising around the world like Phileas Fogg, and I'm going to tell you that you can't have your factories and your financial growth anymore. No, you people cannot create a new middle class. No, you're not allowed to do that. No, your people are not supposed to be dragged out of poverty through the advancements of industrial capitalism. No. You're not allowed to do that, says the pearly white fucking privileged princess from Sweden. Amazing, isn't it? Isn't that just fascinating? How you could go and do that and not feel any shame or have any, but I guess they don't have any self-awareness. I guess she has no self-awareness. She does have dyspraxia, I suppose. But, she does have a team around her. She's not doing this on her own. She's not fucking Supergirl. She's not from fucking planet Krypton. I think some people do think she is, but she's not, Fucking cruising around the world on your little boat, telling people what to do. I mean, who are you? You're going to turn up in Hong Kong, rock up in Beijing. Now listen here, Taipan. You can't be having your dirty, smelly factories and having financial growth, because it's very bad for the planet. Little Greta says. Don't you, darling? Yes, I do. You're taking away my future. You're destroying everything. You're ruining it for everybody. That's right, isn't it, darling? Now listen here. Everyone in Guangzhou is going to have to close their factories because little Greta's very upset. And our lunatic organisation, our death cult, what are we? Our activist organisation says that, this is very bad for the planet and it's going to kill everybody. So there's no point in you having financial growth. And also you're going to have to pay reparations for all the misery you've caused across planet Earth with your financial growth. That's right. Pay reparations. That's right. Okay. Paying climate reparations. I mean, what the fuck is that? I mean, how do you prove that? You see, this is the problem when we don't know enough about science ourselves. And science is an ongoing process. But apparently there is science that is completely conclusive, but it isn't, because it's an ongoing process. I even see people with scientific nous rejecting the concept of science these days. I mean, what the fuck is going on? You can't have a lunatic death cult gluing themselves in London and poncing around on boats, scaring us into submission. Because what is going to be next? What is the next logical conclusion? They're going to go Waco. I swear they're going to go Waco. They're going to go Waco, though. If you don't know what Waco is, that was another cult in Texas. Waco, Texas. A guy and his cult had themselves barricaded into a house. I think it was like a 100-day siege or a 30-day siege. They had loads of guns. Whatever they wanted, I cannot remember. It was some loony religious lunacy. And it ended up with David Koresh. That was the guy's name, David Koresh. Well, it ended up them all fucking dying, and, they went in there with tanks. They stormed the place with fucking tanks. Do you know what I mean? It was hardcore. That's what's going to happen. But they probably don't agree with guns and stuff. But they'll do it for the planet, I suppose. I mean, if they believe in it that hard, why aren't they... Do you see what I'm saying? If they believed in it that hard, I don't quite see this sense of urgency really coming in to fruition. Because let's face facts. We live in a time where people talk a lot of breeze, there's a hell of a lot of smoke, and there isn't much fucking fire. And what I mean by that is, comparing Donald Trump and his regime to the Nazis or the rise of fascism. Now, maybe it's been too long since the Second World War for people to really get to grips with what went on. But hell, they can watch Schindler's List, can't they? Let's face facts. If you believed that Donald Trump really was as bad as Hitler and comparable, well, you haven't done much about it, have you? I mean, the call to arms, the call to action hasn't been quite severe. It hasn't gone against the problem with the amount of force it should, because we know what happened in Nazi Germany, and you're talking about some real nasty shit. So therefore, you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to do some extreme shit. Do you know what I'm saying? If you think Boris Johnson is a fascist and is bringing back some wave that's going to lead to the massacre of millions of people, then you ain't done much about it, have you? Because you're just talking. You're just talking a load of nonsense for political gains. Like, seriously, if I genuinely believed that the leader of my country was, in fact, going to be, the next Milosevic, then Jesus Christ, I'd take him out myself. Because no one wants that shit. It's the same with climate change. Same deal. You're talking about a catastrophic, monumental event, an existential crisis, the obliteration of life on Earth. And we got 12 years? And the best you can do is send a 16-year-old with dyspraxia to the UN to cry. The best you can do is glue your hand to the pavement. That's the best you can do when apparently we're all fucking doomed. Now, I don't know if you remember Independence Day, but people really went about it, didn't they? They didn't have very long. They were like, right, well, we need to do something about this situation because all life on planet Earth as we know it is going to be extinct. So everyone who can fly a plane, well, you're a fighter pilot now. You're like, come on, we need to blow up these massive spaceships with far more advanced weaponry. But, shit, we got to do it, otherwise we're fucked. Yeah, I haven't seen much of that going on. Have you? Really, there's been no kidnappings, there's been no assassinations, there's been no bombings, do you know? I mean, the IRA just wanted independence from the United Kingdom. That's all they wanted, and they were blowing up motherfuckers. I mean, you think about that. I mean, which not disrespecting their cause and the lives that were lost and so forth, but which is a bigger cause? Independence from the United Kingdom, or to prevent the destruction of the planet we all live on. I mean, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I just don't see much. I mean, there's definitely talk of urgency, but I don't really see the acts of desperation that should be occurring if such a crisis is, that big a deal. I'm just saying, I haven't seen much. Have you? What I've seen is, just hippies dancing around on ketamine in central London. I mean, I had a friend who went to Camp Climate Change at Heathrow when they were going to build the second runway. And he was there for 2 weeks. And he told me it was like, the best party he'd been to. He said he was there just raving it up for 2 weeks, just boshing ketamine. He was no climate activist. He's just someone that liked to go places where he could do loads of drugs all day long. And he went to Heathrow. It's the only time he's been to Heathrow Airport. He's never flown out of it. But he's definitely been to Camp Climate Change and boshed a load of ketamine for 2 weeks. That's what they do, man. What do you think Swampy does when he's clamping himself to trees and shit? He's fucking off his tits. That's what I'm saying. You really believe all the hype? Really believe all the hype that it's this bad? Is it really that bad? Because you're not really doing enough about it if it is that bad. Therefore, I think you kind of know it isn't that bad. It's not quite as bad as you've made it out to be, and the evidence isn't fully conclusive because the entire scientific community isn't in full agreement. The only one thing that everyone agrees on is that the climate is changing, the causes of which the jury is kind of out on different sides of the equation. And when it becomes a left and right thing, then you got to go, well, why is that? Because no one's that crazy to just want short-term growth and then live on a, floating ball of flames in outer space. I don't think anyone's that fucking lunatic, do you? Do you? Or is it that just all these people who reject the idea or are dismissive of it or very skeptical of it are like those people that go and do asbestos clear-ups? You get paid shitloads of money per hour, more money than you ever see for doing something as simple as just moving some stuff. But eventually you probably will die from cancer. But you will have some shitloads of money whilst you're still well, and maybe enough money to find the cure for cancer, possibly. That's the thing. Think about what's going on planet Earth right now. We're being told that the worst thing that's going on out there is Brexit and Donald Trump and the climate crisis. And yet there are some people out there, because the evidence isn't concrete yet. The evidence isn't concrete. We don't quite know what's going on. There's some people who do believe that there's kind of a Holocaust-y type situation going on in China with these camps where they're sending Muslims to be non-Muslim. And in fact, there's also camps for Christians. I've heard about camps for Christians too. It's not just the Muslims. There's ones for others too. But there's these camps to make people more, less that and more this. Like brainwashing camps where they might be harvesting organs. And obviously, China's very closed off. We don't know all the facts about China. We don't know everything. We don't know. We just don't know. But there's enough smoke there to investigate the fire, I do believe. And I'm thinking, well, why hasn't someone investigated this fire? Because that's going on, and that is the most awful thing going on planet Earth right now. Because if it is what people are making it out to be, And I'm kind of in the mindset of like, well, usually it's never as bad as everyone says it is. I think that's what breeds Holocaust deniers, to be honest with you. We just probably dispute the figures and go, no, it's probably just 3 million. You know, them kind of people. But usually, but real bad shit has happened. And not just in our lifetimes, in a lot of our lifetimes. On our doorstep. You know, on our doorstep. You can talk about the massacres and the genocide that went on in Rwanda. You know, you can talk about that. Because that was pretty recent. But there was Yugoslavia. It was what Milosevic did. And that's fresh. That's fresh enough. That's fresh enough that you could meet plenty of people who were alive when it happened. You know what I'm saying? So that shit can go on. That's 1 million dead. Or maybe even more. It's definitely in the millions. Do you know what? When it gets beyond 1 million, let's not quibble about the figures. That's too many, isn't it? That's enough. That's enough to go, ooh, God, that's not cool. So we do know this sort of stuff can go on. So I don't see why we're, why a bunch of death cultists are parading around the world on boats like Phileas Fogg, telling us that we need to surrender half of our wealth to save our asses. You know, to who exactly? Who are we giving this money to, and what are they going to do with it again? And I'm not allowed to fly? That's an interesting proposition, isn't it? Okay. So that's the most important thing. But yet they're possibly, and like I said, I don't know. But can we find out? Can someone go and find out that there is or isn't anything really, really, really naughty going on in China? That would be nice. If someone could just find out. I mean, you know, all the resources spent on a little girl to sail across the Atlantic because she refuses to fly because my climate. You know, can we have the resources to do that? Can we fund some sort of super spy? You know, a little SAS team. I don't know, whoever it takes. To, you know, maybe infiltrate this camp, find out what's going on in there. You know, just so we can be safe. You know, like checking on your neighbour. Your old neighbour hasn't answered the door for a while. You haven't seen them for a few days. You usually see them, don't you? Yeah. Where's old Irene? Where's she at? You know, I might just knock on Irene's door just to check she's still alive. She's old. Doesn't have many family members. Not many people checking on Irene. She could have slipped and fell and died. I'll check on Irene. Oh, Irene's alive. Well, great. Irene's dead. Either way, I'm glad I checked. Can we do that? Well, that'd be alright, wouldn't it? That'd be fine. Can we just check this is all fine? No, we've got more important things to do. So that's the funny thing. Why is no one going... Why is Greta Thunberg and Extinction Rebellion not, you know, banging on China's door? Why are they saying to China, you know, the biggest polluters on planet Earth? You have industrial cities that are just built of factories. Just factory cities. Just cities full of fucking factories. That's it. That's all they do. It's just factories everywhere. You know, there's a lot of stuff being pumped out there, but no one's speaking out against that. The NBA would be quite National Basketball Association, quite happy to criticize, their president, criticize the racist practices of police allegedly in America, but they won't speak out against the treatment of protesters in Hong Kong because of all that sweet Chinese NBA money. So that's very noble of them, isn't it? Very interesting. Well, why is no one? Someone's scared of China. It's like, let's no. Don't comment on. Let's not talk about all the emissions that China are releasing. Let's not talk about these strange camps they've got. Let's not talk about what's going on in Hong Kong. Let's just leave all that alone. Yeah, let's just leave all that alone. Fascinating. Even We'll leave China alone now. But can someone go check? Just for safety. Just so we can all sleep better at night. To make sure we nipped it in the bud before it actually happened. If it is happening or not. I don't know. You don't know. But someone needs to find out, don't they? You got people out there saying that they're not going to have children. I see this woman on TV and she was... Well, it wasn't on TV, it was a YouTube clip. I don't actually watch TV. And she said, I'm not going to have babies, I'm not going to have children. Because I'm so concerned about the climate crisis. It's like, okay, well, you do know, but actually, without knowing it, you're helping the climate crisis more than anyone else is, because overpopulation is the biggest threat to humanity of all things. It's the biggest threat out there, Increase in pollution, increase in crap being thrown into the ocean, which is a bigger concern. Like, we need to plant more trees and stop putting so much shit in the ocean. I think that's a good thing to focus on, isn't it? Less crap in the ocean, less, more trees, that'd be alright. Oh, I'm not going to have a baby though because of climate change. It's like, well, that's actually going to help out you not having a child. So your fear of your children's future is actually benefiting the planet, so keep that one going. It's ridiculous. I'll tell you one thing that I didn't mention. One thing that really sort of spurred me on to look more deeply into this whole climate change and climate crisis and environmental, whatever the fuck's going on. Basically, the extinction of planet Earth, apparently. I was watching these documentaries. Friend of my mum. She works in the film industry, and she's on the BAFTA. She's one of the BAFTA people. So she gets sent, all the shortlisted films for BAFTA nominations, to cast her vote. So she was lending me a lot of films that she got given, and the ones were up for best documentary. I watched a few of them. They were okay, interesting enough. One of them was about the heating of the ocean. And, there was this guy who was working in advertising, and he decided... Sorry, I can't remember the name of the fucking thing, okay? It was on the BAFTA shortlist last year. Look it up. And this guy worked in advertising, and he believed he could spread the message of the heating of the oceans using his knowledge of advertising. And he was working with this crew of... What are they called? Ocean biologists? Oceanologists? Is it ocean biologists? Water scientists and shit. Anyway, and they're, measuring temperatures in certain places on the ocean and studying coral reefs and how they're, turning, they're getting burnt out. They were turning different colours and that's what happens when there's too much heat going on. And it was weird to me at first because it's like, well, yeah, we've all known about, rising water levels apparently and the rising temperature of the ocean, but the way they were saying it is as if people didn't believe it. Do you know what I mean? People didn't believe it. Oh no, we need to spread the message. Yeah, we all know. I think everyone knows. Everyone knows at this point. This is why it's so weird when you hear someone denying it. Okay, I don't quite believe that. I think the heat fluctuates on planet Earth or whatever it is, and they get berated for being some sort of denier. And so it's like, well, yeah, we kind of know this. What's the solutions, though? But there doesn't seem to be any solutions. It's just constantly selling this narrative of going, this is what's going on, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. You need to know this is what's going on. It's like, yes, you told me 1,000 times. Now what's the fucking solution, motherfucker? And that's what seems strange to me. It's like, yeah, I know. It's like someone constantly reminding you. Constantly going of something they did. When someone owes you money, and the reason they haven't paid up on time, they keep saying it, and then they try to give you evidence to back the fact up, going, look, see, this is why I told you. Yeah, I know, I get it. You told me, all right? And then they tell you again and again. It's like, do you know what? You're saying this so many times, I'm starting to think that you and I both know that you're talking shit, yeah? right? You had no intention of paying me my money on this fucking date. You know what was going on, right? Okay? Stop bullshitting me around. Alright? Still getting, it's like, oh, no, I told you this is what happened. I said, yeah, I know, but I still don't have my fucking money, do I? No, but I told you. But this is what happened. See, look here. Because they're lying. They know they're lying, but they're gonna double down on that lie and keep trying to present you with false evidence to prove that lie. That's what it felt like watching this thing, going, we need to spread the message. Like, yeah, we already got the message. Where's the fucking solution? Blah, 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 blah. And then as I'm watching it more and more, I'm looking at it going, do you know what? The job these people had, which bearing in mind it's all funded through donations. So, this is all funded. They're not working for profit. This is not a profit. This is not a business. But these people are getting paid. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're paid to do what do they love. They love the ocean. They're marine biologists. That's the one. When I say ocean biologists, I'm an idiot. Marine biologists. They love the ocean. And they spent all their time in the ocean. And I'm telling you, they were going to places on planet Earth where they had, like the Great Barrier Reef and places in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean and stuff. They're going to places that you and I cannot afford to go to. Most of us, dream holiday shit. And they're spending all day long there in the beautiful clear water, measuring temperatures. This is what they spend day in, day out. In the thing that they love. They love the ocean. They get to do this all year round. But they're there, a little soul going, oh, I just love the ocean. I don't want to see it destroyed. And all this. And it's like, do you know what? You're really living the life right now. I'm just looking at the human aspect of it. You're living the fucking life right now. You're having a really, really good time. Like, apart from the boo-hoos about the coral reef turning white or whatever it is, but you're having a good time. I mean, you are doing what you fucking love. You are out in paradise continuously, and also you're being praised for being out in paradise. What a wonderful job you're doing. Well done. You're getting applauded. You're getting given money. Everyone thinks you're fucking noble. You're out there living it up in fucking paradise, and you don't do anything really except what you love. You're not supposed. This isn't a business. This is just something that you want to do, and people will give you money for it and expect nothing back. No return on investment, apparently, apart from saving planet Earth or saving the seas. And if that's not an incentive to perpetuate mistruths or a lie or a twist on things, or, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it is, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it isn't happening. I don't know, because I don't know, do I? I don't know. But the results aren't quite in, are they? But I'm looking at this and thinking, do you know what? This is a lifestyle worth perpetuating a lie for, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? Or not quite releasing all the truth, saying, yeah, maybe. Because you can't just say a maybe. A maybe's not going to fund that kind of shit. It costs a lot of money to be going out and doing that shit all year round. Be hopping off from England to the Caribbean, and all this equipment, and going and checking, having to endure going into that beautiful ocean in paradise every day to check your equipment. Oh my God, it must be terrible. What a terrible life. What a burden. But you're noble, you're saving planet Earth, so you have to do it. Yeah, that makes me question a lot of things, because it looks pretty fucking sweet. So therefore, no one's going to want to constantly give you money when you come out with results that say, oh, actually, it's getting better. Oh, actually, no, there's no problem. Oh, it's like, okay, well, that's the end of you then. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? When they used to say no cure for cancer. Why? Oh, probably makes more money that there isn't a cure for cancer. All these kind of things. That's the way you got to think about it sometimes. And think, if they solve this problem, when this problem's been solved, what are those people that were trying to solve the problem going to fucking do afterwards? Because a marine biologist, you know, you got to think about it. A marine biologist. What's this project you want funding for? Well, I'm very interested in the migration of sea turtles, and what they do at night. Right. And why do we need to know that? Well, I'm interested in it. Yeah. I don't see how it's beneficial to anything. I'm saying, oh, actually, no. Sorry, I need to examine the sea turtles' habitat because the temperatures in the water are raising, and this is because of man-made climate change. Like, you know, exhaust fumes from cars and shit, making the planet get real hot, and the world's going to end in 12 years. So we really need to find out, you know, how hot it's going to get, so we can fucking get prepared for annihilation on planet Earth. Oh, I think that's worth giving money to. Yeah, that sounds pretty fucking serious, to be honest with you. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yes, okay. You wonder why there's no cure for cancer yet? You wonder why do so many people fucking die from cancer? Probably because there's so much money being pumped into this fucking nonsense so people can live it up in the Caribbean, swimming around. So little girls can fucking float around the world telling people what to do, like Phileas Fogg on fucking acid. Actually, that's not a very good analogy. Phileas Fogg on cocaine, that's better. That's right. You think how much money gets pumped into this stuff, and half of it is half-truths, or a misrepresentation of a truth, or they've hyped it up, or they've duped the facts. They've fucked with the stats. They've messed the science. And people are out there dying of cancer. When you think about it like that, just for once. Just go, you know what? There's no cure for cancer, but Greta Thunberg has a boat. I mean, that fucking sucks, doesn't it? Is that enough to really piss you off? You should be pissed off. You should be. You could work hard your whole day, your whole life. Work hard, be a really good person. Hell, I've saved 2 people's lives. I've never got an award for it. I never got the Pride of Britain award. I don't know many people who've saved 2 people's lives. I never asked for nothing. But Greta Thunberg gets on a boat and goes screams at politicians who won't say anything to her because she's a child with dyspraxia. So, you shouldn't really say anything back, should you? You look like an asshole. And she gets a mural painted on the side of a building in fucking San Francisco and is up for a Nobel Prize. Greta Thunberg hasn't saved anybody's life. I've saved 2. Who's the virtuous one in this fucking situation right now, motherfucker? And I never asked for praise from nobody. I never even got a thank you, and do you know what? I don't even want a thank you. But would I do it again? Yes, I would. Do you know why? Because I am pure of heart. But legit, I have saved 2 pricks' lives. Fucking what? And one person's life I saved, but I didn't turn snitch on the person that stabbed him. So not only... That's right. I am loyal to life and loyal to the fucking code of the streets. That's legitimately true. I'm a stand-up guy. Where's my Nobel Peace Prize? Not only I saved someone's life, I also did not enable someone go to jail. I mean, I should be I should be an ambassador of peace. Or something like that. I mean, surely that deserves a round of applause, doesn't it? Keeping it real and saving people's lives at the same time? Yeah, well, there's no Nobel Prize for me. I don't, Leonardo DiCaprio ain't doing nothing for me. No. Stuart Lee doesn't write a column about me in The Guardian, praising how brave I am. No. I've done more. I've fucking done more. Let's face facts. I've done more. Me. I've done more. Wow. Because, I mean, for a very large proportion of my life, I've been an absolute scumbag. And yet I've done more than, the most praised little girl on planet Earth. I am more noble and pure of heart and honest than she is. Now that's fucked up.